Look at you. You are staring at a glowing screen, agonizing over the formatting of a proposal, or optimizing a daily routine that has generated exactly 0 real-world leverage. You're exhausted. You've convinced yourself you are a perfectionist. You think you are playing the long game. You are polite. You wait your turn. You never push back too hard because you want to be the good guy in the office.
Yeah. And while you're busy being the perfect little domesticated employee, some sociopath with a fraction of your intellect just restructured the shell company and diluted your equity down to 0. Or some loudmouth idiot just sold a stolen, half-baked idea to your exact target audience for a 6-figure payday. He didn't read a book on ethics. He didn't wait for permission. He just took what he wanted.
Exactly. You aren't failing because the market is tough. You aren't failing because of bad luck. You are failing because you bought into the greatest scam in human history. The idea that being harmless makes you a virtuous person. It doesn't. You are not good. You are just weak. And a weak person doesn't choose to be peaceful. They are biologically forced to be. This is the Machiavellian Shadow. Today we dissect the anatomy of your powerlessness and why your so-called free will is a complete, pathetic illusion. Listen, the entire system is engineered to domesticate you. From the education system to corporate HR, you are force-fed a singular, lethal script. Suppress your aggression. Play fair. Wait for the authority to reward you.
Which is a fantastic narrative if you're the one sitting at the top of the food chain collecting the dividends. It's the perfect pacifier for the masses. Keep your head down and be good. It guarantees cheap labor.
It is systemic castration. You are taught to bury your fangs. Jung figured this out. He called it the shadow. He wrote that the shadow is that hidden, repressed, for the most part inferior and guilt-laden personality, whose ultimate ramifications reach back into the realm of our animal ancestors. Read that again. You shove your ambition, your anger, and your capacity for violence into the basement. You think you are being civilized. But when you cut off the shadow, you cut off your engine. You become a hollow shell, a domesticated pet waiting for a treat from a master who doesn't even know your name.
Hold on, Ink. Stop. Stop right there with the Swiss psychologist romance. This is exactly what I hate. You sit in your room, you integrate your shadow, you do your little journaling exercises, and then what? Tomorrow morning, you still wake up, commute in traffic, and report to a boss who steals your credit. A guy who imagines he's a dark, powerful beast in his head, but has absolutely 0 leverage in the physical market, doesn't become a king. He just becomes a heavily depressed, smart person. Where is the actual brutal reality in this?
You are jumping ahead, but you are right. The psychology is just the diagnosis. The disease is structural. You think you are making moral choices. You think, I could be ruthless, but I choose to be kind. That is a lie.
Prove it.
Here is the math. Choice without capability is just consent to being exploited. If you do not possess the capacity to cause absolute financial or systemic destruction to your opponent, your politeness is not a choice. It is a biological surrender. You are a rabbit calling itself a pacifist because it doesn't eat wolves. It's a joke.
So the entire concept of, I'm a good guy, is just a cope for people with no leverage.
Absolutely. You don't have free will, you have constraints. True freedom in the market, or in life, requires an asymmetric advantage. You are trapped in a zero-sum game because you refuse to acknowledge the physics of power. You think the market cares about your soul. It doesn't. It only measures force. And right now, you have none.
So let's drag this into the mud. Give me a real scenario, not a theory. How does this harmless mentality actually get the Leviathan slaughtered in the real world?
You build the product, you code the back end, you do 90% of the actual intellectual labor in the startup. But you don't secure the cap table early. You don't demand the board seat. Because you don't want to cause friction. You want to be a team player, so the CEO, who does nothing but talk, smiles at you, shakes your hand, and legally locks you out of the IPO. You didn't lose because you were unlucky. You lost because you lacked the fangs to threaten him.
And then you go home and tell yourself you're morally superior. At least I kept my integrity.
While he buys a yacht and controls your time. You are just proving Nietzsche right. He said, "What is bad? Everything that is born of weakness." Your morality is born of weakness. You are trapped in the Matrix not because the Matrix is invincible, but because you are too terrified of your own monster to break the glass. You are caged by your own illusion of goodness. Let's run the autopsy on your so-called moral high ground. You think you're a stoic because you don't react when your manager hands your promotion to the guy who plays golf with the VP? You aren't stoic. You are paralyzed.
It's a massive cope. You tell yourself, I choose to take the high road. Bullshit. You take the high road because the low road requires fangs, and you don't have any.
Here is the math. Free will does not exist in a vacuum. It is strictly correlated to your percentage of control over the environment. If you rely on a single employer for your paycheck, a single platform for your audience, or a single client for your revenue, your percentage of control is exactly 0.
Which means your choices are 0. Choice without capability is just consent to being exploited.
Correct. Let's look at the B2B market. You run a boutique agency. You do brilliant work. You land a whale client. You think, I'll be reasonable. I'll over-deliver. I won't lock them into a harsh contract because I'm building a long-term relationship.
Oh, I know exactly how this ends.
The client knows you have no other pipeline. They know they represent 80% of your revenue, so they squeeze your margins. They demand endless revisions. They delay your invoices by 90 days. You didn't choose to be accommodating. You were starving. You lacked the capability to walk away, so your brain fabricated a moral excuse. I'm just being professional to hide the fact that you are a hostage.
That's sickening. So the guy sitting in a cubicle right now, being the good employee, he's basically a farm animal bragging about how well he stays inside the fence.
You're proud of the fact that you do not require a leash. That is the ultimate victory of the system. It convinced the Leviathan to lock its own cage from the inside and then call it virtue. You aren't peaceful. You are just incapable of war.
But wait, if the market only responds to force, are you telling everyone to just become the sociopath, the guy stealing ideas and diluting equity? Because if that's the answer, it's just a race to the bottom of this psychopathic barrel.
No, the sociopath is a slave to his own immediate impulses. He plays a low-level, high-friction game. He eventually destroys his own reputation or gets locked out of the compound interest of long-term games. I am not telling you to become a criminal. I am telling you to acquire the capacity for absolute destruction, and then keep it holstered.
Ah, the monster in the basement.
Exactly. You must integrate the shadow, but not by writing in a cute little gratitude journal, by acquiring asymmetric leverage in the physical world. Schopenhauer observed that we are driven by a blind, irrational will to survive. The system uses your survival instinct against you by threatening your livelihood if you don't comply. To beat it, you have to neutralize their threat. You don't need to be evil. You just need to be dangerous.
Define dangerous in the modern matrix.
Dangerous means having options. Dangerous means if they fire you, your independent income stream replaces the salary by noon. Dangerous means if the platform algorithm bans you, your owned email list generates $100,000 on a Tuesday. Dangerous means you look the CEO in the eye and say no, and you both know there is absolutely nothing he can do about it.
That is actual freedom, not the illusion of it.
Right. A harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very dangerous man who has that power under voluntary control. Until you build the leverage to be dangerous, every moral choice you make is a forced compliance.
Okay, fine. I get the math. Being harmless is a scam. But how do you actually build this dangerous leverage without just becoming another corporate shark playing office politics? Because if the answer is just to outmanipulate the sociopaths at the water cooler, I'm out. I refuse to fight these idiots in the mud.
You don't fight in the mud. You transcend it. Look. It's a concept from Chinese legalism written by Feizi. He called it shi, positional advantage. Feizi didn't care about a ruler's moral character. He cared about the throne. He observed that a weak man sitting on a high throne can command tigers, but a strong man standing in the mud will get eaten by pigs. Right now, you are a high IQ giant standing in the mud, trying to outmuscle pigs. You don't need to fight them. You need to build your throne.
Translate throne into modern market dynamics. Give me the exact execution, because right now, the Leviathan watching this is still stuck in a cubicle at 9 a.m. tomorrow, taking orders from a guy with half his IQ. How do they actually escape?
Listen closely. Here is the exact blueprint to build your shi. Step 1. You systematically decouple your income from the permission of the hierarchy. You stop trading linear time for linear dollars. That is a slave's equation. You must acquire permissionless leverage. Code and media. You wake up at 5 a.m., 2 hours before your sociopathic boss even opens his eyes. You sit at your screen and you build an asset that scales infinitely at zero marginal cost. A piece of software, a deeply analytical newsletter, a specialized consulting framework. You build it in the dark.
So you just become a generic content creator? Another guy on the internet selling a course? The market is completely saturated with that garbage.
Wrong. You don't compete. You monopolize. Step 2. You weaponize your specific knowledge. You don't sell generic marketing or coding. You sell the exact, bizarre intersection of your obsessions that the market cannot replicate. You become a category of one. You document your obsessive problem solving. While the guy in the office is optimizing his PowerPoint to look busy for the VP, you are building an archive of absolute authority in the digital world. You build a signal so strong that it attracts the exact high net worth individuals who need your specific brain.
So you bypass the corporate gatekeepers entirely.
Exactly. Step 3. You own the distribution. You do not rely on the HR department for a promotion. You do not rely on a single platform algorithm that can wipe you out overnight. You capture email addresses. You capture direct lines to capital allocators. You build a decentralized network of high-leverage individuals. Let's look at the math again. When your entire livelihood depends on one manager's mood, your percentage of control is 0. When you have an audience of 10,000 targeted buyers and 3 independent revenue streams, your percentage of control flips to 95%.
And what happens to the sociopaths stealing your credit at the day job? The guys who diluted your equity?
They become irrelevant. They are still playing a zero-sum game of addition, fighting for scraps in a rigged, decaying hierarchy. You are playing a game of multiplication in an infinite market. You don't need to destroy them. You just obsolete them. When you possess your goodness is no longer a liability. It becomes a luxury you can actually afford. You can be generous. You can be peaceful. Because nobody possesses the mechanical capability to destroy you.
So true sovereignty isn't about being a tyrant. It's about building a fortress so heavily armed that you never actually have to fire a shot.
Sun Tzu laid down the physics of this reality thousands of years ago. He said, "Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win." You don't argue with the system. You don't beg for fairness. You don't complain about the sociopaths. You build so much asymmetric leverage in silence that the system simply bends around you. The cage was never locked. You just never stopped to check.